I'm kind of in shock right now. Like, I'm sure it'll soak in a couple hours, probably in the evening, but like right now it's just like, life doesn't really feel real right now, and like I don't even know if I'm going to remember this or if I just black out or not, but I don't know, it's just an incredible honor. I'm just happy for this opportunity.
Welcome to episode 246 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. We have a jam-packed episode ready to go as we look at some of the headlines, recap the Canadian Future Showcase, and chat with Intercounty Baseball League champion and Sherwood Park product Scott Gillespie. But first, this weekend marks National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and we wanted to take a moment to simply pause and reflect on what the day and this whole week has really become. A chance for us to look back, learn from our history, and make the world a better place for the Indigenous communities in our country. Here at Alberta Dugout Stories, we've written about the success of legends like Jimmy Rattlesnake or of the future with the planned upgrades at the ballpark at Louis Bowl Tribe. We've also shared darker moments in our history, like that of Dick Brookins. We know we're just scratching the surface and have many more stories to come. It's the telling of these stories that we hope will help capture the true spirit of truth and reconciliation in Alberta from a baseball perspective. We thank you for sharing your stories and would love to tell more, so if you think there's one to be told, email us at albertadugoutstories@gmail.com. On to the news headlines, and it starts in Major League Baseball. Congratulations to former Edmonton Prospects and Okotoks Dogs utility man Cody Funderburk and the Minnesota Twins on clinching a playoff spot. Since being called up this summer, the Southpaw has gone 1-0 with an ERA of just 1 in 9 relief appearances, striking out 13 in 9 innings of work. He's not the only player with connections to this province heading to the MLB postseason so far anyways, as former Okotoks hurler Andrew Kittredge and the Tampa Bay Rays are in, as is former Medicine Hat Mavericks pitcher Jacob Webb and the Baltimore Orioles. The Atlanta Braves are in as well, albeit without Calgary's Michael Soroka, and the Milwaukee Brewers are also in, featuring coach and original Okotoks dog Jim Henderson. It's shaping up to be a fascinating final few days of the regular season, and we're looking forward to talking all about it and the Alberta connections in future episodes. In the minors, Dogs Academy product and episode 244 guest Jordan Procession was part of the playoff push with Round Rock Express. The Pacific Coast League's second-half champions were unfortunately swept in their best-of-3 championship with the Oklahoma City Dodgers. The season has come to an end for the Toronto Blue Jays AAA team, the Buffalo Bisons, but what a way to finish the year for Vauxhall Academy grad Damiano Palmaggiani. He reached base in every game he played for the Bisons after he was promoted from AA New Hampshire. Palmaggiani finished his tenure in Buffalo by hitting .284 with 4 home runs and 22 RBI in 20 games. He's now ranked as the number 18 prospect in the Jays system. Now on to this week's guests, and interestingly, 2 of the big performers from last week's Canadian Future Showcase happen to be guests on this podcast over the last few episodes. On Saturday, Innisfail native and St. Joseph Academy product Nathan Flewelling smashed 11 round trippers to win the annual Home Run Derby, while Cochrane native and Weber Academy product Simon Baker was named the Showcase MVP. We were fortunate to have former University of Calgary Dinos utility man and current Toronto sports journalist Zach Worden at Rogers Centre, where he filed a few written stories for us, and he also caught up with both Flewelling and Baker after they received their championship belts.
Congratulations on winning. How does it feel for you to come out here at Rogers Centre, big week in front of a lot of, scouts, coaches, and perform like that?
It feels great. I mean, like, obviously I'm kind of in shock right now. Like, I'm sure it'll soak in a couple hours, probably in the evening, but like right now it's just like, life doesn't really feel real right now, and like I don't even know if I'm going to remember this or if I just black out or not, but I don't know, it's just an incredible honor. I'm just happy for this opportunity.
Yeah, and just overall the week as a whole, what does it mean to you to be here in Toronto at the Rogers Centre?
It means everything to me, being like honored to be part of this like 175 players in Canada to be considered one of the top kids, and then being selected for this, it just doesn't feel real right now. It's just one of those moments that like, one of the moments the game gives you, it's just like one of those times that just makes you realize why you love the game and why you keep playing every day.
How tired are the arms feeling?
I'm very tired. I couldn't really breathe after I was that mixed with all the adrenaline, and my blood was just pumping, so I don't know, I feel good, but I'll probably be tired later.
I know you said you might feel like blacking out, but how did it feel to get that first home run off your bat?
Well, I didn't even know which one went out. You don't even know which ones go out. You just hit it. You think they all go out, and then you realize they don't, but I don't know, it feels relieving to get a couple like this, yeah.
Where are you putting that hardware? Is that going to make room for that?
Oh, probably above my bed.
Right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then as well for you on the scout day to, come out, I know you hit the one off the siding up there during the scout day. Did that kind of help you and prepare you at all for this and just kind of give you the, the feeling that you can come in and win this?
Yeah, it gave me a feel of like, okay, I may be like littler than some of these guys, but like I still got my abilities I have the ability to do it. So I just had to come out and I knew I could do it. I just had to do it, and I did.
Congratulations on the MVP of the tournament overall. What was your kind of approach coming in this week, having been here before and coming off such a strong summer?
Yeah, so I came in just looking to do some damage. Like nothing, no goals in particular. Just play my game, be aggressive, and hit baseballs hard.
Yeah, and to be recognized as the MVP. What does that mean to you for such a prestigious tournament?
It means a lot, but even if I didn't win MVP, I would still have had a great weekend. The MVP is nice to have, but it's not the best feeling in the world because hitting the ball over guys' heads, that's the best feeling.
Yeah, I guess kind of with that too, having done that this week, how does that show kind of what you are as a player and who you want to present yourself as on the field?
Yeah, I had a good weekend. I feel like I played my best version of baseball that I played in a while, and it's just lucky that it's been here. I'll continue to try and play this way.
Yeah, for sure. And, being here at the Rogers Centre, what does it mean to you to be invited to an event like this and to play the way you did here?
Oh, yeah, it's a great venue. I'll never I'll never do something like this again. It's awesome. It's just such a pretty sight to walk into a ballpark like this every morning.
Are you a Jays fan?
Yeah.
So you're being here for the first time this week. On the field, what was your reaction kind of walking out and being able to kind of, feel like a big leaguer?
Yeah, it was my first time playing at MLB Stadium. It hit me hard. Just imagining the stadium packed with fans playing in front of whole country behind you was surreal.
And, having put together such a strong week here, what do you feel like you can kind of take away from the weekend and take back with you to Weber and to the junior national team?
Yeah, I've performed against some of the highest competition in Canada, but the job's not finished, Go home, get some sleep, go to junior national team, and continue to ball out.
You can hear more about Flewelling's journey in baseball on episode 242, while Baker appeared on episode 243. Now, we heard him asking questions, but let's hear him answer a few. Zach Worden joins us now on Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, for a little analysis and a few thoughts following the Canadian Future Showcase. Zach, thanks for taking the time and welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Joe.
Looking back over the last week or so, any standout performances from your perspective, Alberta or otherwise?
Yeah, it was a really fun week. I think just kind of looking at it, you can't really say enough about the week that Simon Baker had. It seemed like every time he was coming up to the plate, he was hitting a ball hard, even whether he made it on base or not, and was really causing havoc on the base paths and just really stood out. Obviously, he won the MVP, so that's maybe a little bit of the easy answer to say, but yeah, I think he was really great. As far as some of the other guys, I think all the Alberta kids really stood out and had a great week. I know, obviously, after, with Nathan Flewelling winning the home run derby, of course, Baker with the MVP. I think it was just a really great week for Alberta all around to really shine on this stage in front of so many scouts and coaches and just be maybe one of the more prominent provinces at a tournament where there's, it's just the top Canadian prospects. As far as some other guys, I think Keenan Parker was really good. He was, a guy who I thought hit a lot of balls hard. Kind of looked like he was one of the top first basemen at the tournament, one of the top hitters. Landon Kaufman hit a home run on the last day there. Was really cool to see that. A guy like Leo Cote kind of doing it on both sides of the ball. Just a lot of really great performances across the board, I'd say.
When I think about, and I kind of mused about this on social a little bit, is I'll ask your opinion on this, given what you saw over the last few days. Does Alberta punch above its weight when it comes to some of the talent that not only are born here, but obviously there's some, Landon Kaufman's an example, who comes from another province, trains at Dogs Academy or Vauxhall, wherever the case may be, and does really, really well. Are we punching above our weight a little bit?
Yeah, I would say so. I think there's been a pretty drastic change. Just obviously, Vauxhall and the Dogs have kind of always been there, but just seeing, the other academies popping up, I think it's really added some depth to the Alberta baseball scene that, really helps at an event like this, where the Alberta kids get to come in, and it's not just kind of those top prospects that come from Alberta, but there's a lot of depth of guys that can come in and succeed at a tournament like this, and it's even if they weren't on the radar coming in.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Nathan Flewelling in that home run derby. How cool was that to watch? We've seen it here in Alberta with the WCBL All-Star Game as an example, but that's got to be next level when they're, and pun sort of intended, when you're doing it at Rogers Center.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so funny because on the scout day at the beginning, he comes up to the plate, and he's sitting around a BP, of course, with his wood bat, and he hits one. It was probably the biggest home run of the scout day, and it goes off. They have the different levels, and they have the Schneider's porch, and it goes off the facing in front of that. And I was kind of like, oh man, who hit that? And of course I look up and it's him. And so he's coming in for the home run derby, and I'm standing there on the field, and I'm talking to some of the other media members. I'm like, man, I just feel like he's going to win this. I think he's after seeing that one home run, I made that grand declaration. But for it was really awesome to see. He was one of the guys that not only did he hit, of course, the most home runs, but his home runs were going way over the fence, way up into kind of the second level area, and not a lot of the guys who were hitting were really doing that. So I think it was really impressive just to see him kind of set the stage early in the week and then follow up on that in the derby.
You mentioned Simon Baker as well, being the showcase MVP. When you think back on that performance, what really stood out to you more than anything else as being a baseball guy, as a guy who's played the game before? What made him really turn it up?
I think he looked really comfortable at the plate. I think, in events like this, sometimes kids can be a little nervous, and obviously it was his second time there. But I think just him, being in there against some of the top pitchers in the country, some of the best hardest throwers, and he just looked so comfortable at the plate. It didn't look like he was nervous at all. It looked like he knew he was one of the better players there, and he was just in the box, super comfortable, and it just didn't look like anything fazed him. Obviously it kind of sucks that he got hit just below the ribs in the prospect game at the end there, and kind of forced him to come out, so we didn't get to see him finish off the tournament that way. But I think, yeah, he just looked really comfortable at the plate. Like, it looked like he stuck to his plan the entire time. And just kind of took advantage of whatever he was getting in the box or on the base paths.
One guy that I wrote about right before the tournament as part of the preview was Brett Getz from Vauxhall, and 3 scoreless innings of pitching. That's not a bad run when you've got some of the best hitters in the country going up against you.
No, he was great too. I think the pitching is so interesting because, the guys, they come in and it's kind of, there's a lot of velocity going on there, but I think it's really impressive when the guys come in and they really do show off the control, not really working in that many walks. And, he's kind of one of those guys where he comes in and had that control compared to, some of the guys who are of course trying to pump it up for the radars. Of course, Rogers Center, there's the velocity posted everywhere. There's the big pitch velo, the movement, the everything. And it seemed like he was one of those guys that was just kind of in there just doing his thing and not really too worried about all the extra stuff of the major league stadium.
Obviously an opportunity for these guys to showcase their talent. Another piece of it is the personality side as well. You probably had a chance to chat with a few on and off record. I know you did a couple of pieces with the Erics from Okotoks for us. Talk us through some of the personalities and what you noticed about, the 175 guys who are making their way through Rogers Center over the last few days.
Yeah, the thing that actually stands out to me most from the tournament was actually like the first 5 minutes that I'm there. And the team Navy, I believe it was. It was kind of the team put together of the most the younger guys that are all at the tournament. And they're running out to do their stretching, and they're running out to center field, and you can see when they get to center field there, they get to the center field wall, just how excited they all are. They kind of stop and they're all looking around, just kind of taking it all in. And I thought it was really cool to talk to some of the guys and, learn about, if they're Jays fans or just what it means to them to be playing on the field and how excited that they were to get this major league experience. And, talking about the Erics who were both there last year in Ottawa. And, of course, it's a great experience, and it's really cool to be able to play in a showcase like that. But, I hate to use this, but this year's tournament was maybe just a little bit more next level there.
We're actually doing a test to see how many times you can mention next level in the course of this conversation. Obviously, there's a player perspective, but also the coaching and then the scouting, recruiting perspective as well. Did you get a sense as to the buzz around Rogers Center when it came to what their reaction was as they're watching the top Canadian talent go at it?
Yeah, I got to talk with Corey Lafreniere, the Blue Jays manager of amateur scouting, and I was kind of talking to him about, what they really look for in the tournament and what he, kind of, or how aware they are of every guy coming in. And of course they have their lists as to what they're looking for. And he was just kind of talking, for us it's a great opportunity to just get to know the players better. We have our scouts, and we have kind of some notes on all the guys coming in as what they are as players, but it's great for them to be able to see the players and their attitudes, and just be kind of have this close week next to them, and learn a little bit about the guys as they go throughout the week, and be able to see them up close.
I was reading a great article. I think it was Richard Griffin wrote it, saying that the strength of the game here is just next level. It's really hit another stride here. And the showcase kind of puts it back on the map for a lot of people as well, especially after COVID and that. What do you think of it as far as the quality of athletes are concerned when it comes to what we're bringing from the Canadian Games perspective?
Yeah, it's certainly a lot different from when I played. I think it's awesome. Like, I was there last year in Ottawa as well. And I think even last year, like maybe even more so this year, I was just kind of taken aback at how good the level of ball is. It's, the pitching's great. The hitters, they're in there facing guys who are throwing upper 80s the entire time. And it's just no issue to these guys. And that just goes for all of them, no matter how old they are. Of course, there's like 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds at the tournament, and they're fitting right in with kind of some of these 18-year-old dudes that are about to go play D1. And just to kind of see that, I think it's super impressive. I think back to when I was like 15 years old, and there's no way that I would have been able to do something like that. So I think just having a tournament like this where these kids all get to come together, and one of them said to me, it's like your baseball family grows every single year that you come to a tournament like this. I think it's really cool for them to get that opportunity where there's nothing like this tournament anywhere else in the world. There's not a US tournament of the top 170 players. It's very, very Canadian, I guess I would say, but it's a really great experience, and I think it's really valuable for Canadian baseball for sure.
What do you think the next step is for this tournament? Have you been able to chat with some of the people behind the scenes to go, okay, what do we got to do to up the ante kind of thing going into next year and beyond?
Yeah, I think they're probably pretty happy like with where it's at. The obviously getting it back at Rogers Center was the big step this year. I think just in terms of like the major league experience, like that might be kind of something that they look at going forward in terms of, how can we maybe make this even more like a major league experience for all these kids. It was really cool. They had on the flight deck, they had like a players lounge for the entire tournament, and
Cool.
Players only. It's where they got all their food, they got the video games, they got the music playing up there, they got just this area for the players to hang out. That was really cool for them to again, like just kind of hang out with each other and be up there and be able to watch the games from a spot that a pretty sweet spot in the stadium.
You mentioned it. You were a player here in Alberta. You played for the Dinos. Take us back to 15-year-old you. Could you have ever imagined getting the opportunity to play in something like that and showcase your skills?
Not at all. Not at all. That would have been, way something I would have never even dreamed of, I would say. Even for me this week, I'm kind of down on the field there, like in the dugouts a little bit. I'm like, man, this is so cool. I couldn't imagine what these kids are like, getting to go up to the box. And, I think I tried to ask like every kid I talked to, I'm like, like when you're on the field, who are you thinking of when you're out there? Like, are you thinking of like Bo Bichette, like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., like, what pitcher are you thinking of when you're on the mound? And I know even like talking to somebody like Adam Macko a while ago, of course, he's, a guy who played at the tournament back when he was coming up. And for him, he said to me, he's like, I was on the mound. I'm like, oh my God, David Price just pitched here a couple weeks ago. And it's kind of the stuff like that makes it such a cool and unique tournament.
Oh, and it's been a cool and unique perspective to see you help us out with the stories and more. And looking forward to having you back on the pod just to talk about your overall journey, because you've certainly had an interesting one. We'll catch up with you again before too long. But until then, Zach, really appreciate the time, really appreciate the effort that you put in for us with your stories. And thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Joe. Appreciate you letting me write. And it was a privilege. And I'm really excited to chat further for sure.
Our final guest this week is someone we spotlighted in the headlines last week. Sherwood Park's Scott Gillespie can call himself a champion again. The Prairie Baseball Academy product and former Edmonton Prospects hurler started his pro journey in the Frontier League before turning to the Intercounty Baseball League last summer, where he went 2-1 with a 6.87 ERA in 4 appearances with the Welland Jackfish. The 6'3", 235-pound right-hander returned this summer to go 1-2 with an identical 6.87 ERA in 15 appearances, including 6 starts. He found his home in the bullpen midway through the season and helped the Jackfish claim their first ever title over the Barrie Baycats. Just before the episode 81 guest packed his bags to come back home last week, we captured a few minutes together to chat about his whirlwind season. Scott, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be on again.
How does it feel to be an IBL champion?
Quite sunk in yet. This is Canada's top amateur league in the nation, and to win it is something that I'll definitely remember forever. It feels pretty surreal at the moment still.
It's been a couple of days, but when you look back on it, was there a turning point in that series? Because it felt like Welland was sort of almost an underdog. As much as Barrie and you matched up pretty well, it still kind of felt like it was yours to try to steal away almost.
That we go down 2-0 after the first 2 games. I'd say there were a couple turning points. One of them was definitely the day off after game 2. A day off after game 2, I think, definitely helped us just mentally reset and remember, look, we are the team to beat. We won 31 games. We won the pennant. This is ours for the taking, and we have home field advantage still, guys. So let's just go out and play our game, and that's what we did in game 3. That didn't feel like a turning point. It felt like that was our chance to just get back in it. But definitely the turning point was game 4. We're down 2-1 in the 9th inning, in the top of the 9th inning, and our catcher Carlos Martinez steps up to the plate and hits a 2-run home run with 2 outs, 2 strikes on him in the top of the 9th to give us a 3-2 lead, and we end up holding on to that one for a 3-2 win and tie up the series. That it spun it right on its head right there.
You mentioned that game 3. It's a 13-1 victory. Was that, I'll call it a statement game from you? Because if you eke by or lose, that's a totally different series in my books.
Yeah, I think if we played really hard in game 4, but I think, it was definitely a statement of, hey, we're not done yet. That was our you poked the wrong bear type of game. They were talking all this smack about us after even game 1 and even after game 2 and before the series. They're talking about how they're going to be pumped to beat us. You guys may have won the regular season, but Barrie thought it was theirs. And then, we just that win just we told them, we're still the team to beat, man. You poked the wrong bear, you've awoken the beast, and we're here to come for it.
You get a couple of squeaky wins in games 3 and 4, games 4 and 5. That game 6, though, 17-1 final. What's that game like as a player when you're almost counting down the minutes, so to speak, until you get to hoist a trophy kind of thing?
Yeah, it definitely. We had a couple of relievers start counting down once we got to the 7th. One of my good friends, Chris Bewato, he pitched the last out of the series, and he started counting down at 9. And I looked at him, I was like, dude, what do you I don't care how big of a lead we have, but don't count down yet. This is way too early. And then he goes, dude, we're up 14-1. I think we're good. So that one was where I started to breathe a little bit easier, but. With how good our pitching staff had been and how dominant James Bradwell had been on the bump as a starter, once we scored 4 in the first, man, it felt like man, we just put up if we allow 1 to 0 runs in these first 3 innings, I think we've got this thing locked down. So it was definitely a weird moment. You score 4 in the first inning, and to breathe that easy in an elimination game was a little bit unnerving, I guess, for the little bit. And once we started to add on to the lead, it was just countdown time after that.
Take us to the final out. What's going through your mind, and walk us through the dog pile. Do you remember any of it? Because I know there's some who say there's a bit of that blackout moment where you just go crazy. But what was it like from your perspective?
From my perspective, I'm standing on the bench. I'm standing at the top step. I'm ready to go, and the pitch before, it was a really good pitch, and he called it a ball, and so we were all ready. We kind of give it that, that was, come on, just pull the trigger, get that out, we were ready to go.
but then that next pitch, it was right down the middle and right over the plate. So we knew it as soon as it hit the glove that was it. I just remember running out there, and I was the first one to get to Bellato there and give him a big hug, and just start jumping around that dog pile after that. Though is a little bit of a black moment, like you were saying. I just remember getting up and hugging a bunch of different guys, and we're all just screaming like, we did it, like we got it done. It was a moment that all of us are never gonna forget. And to be a guy that's hugging Bellato like that, who's been in this league for a number of years now, and to finally have his championship and be the guy, one of the original Jackfish members, to pitch the last out, was one of the coolest things that I could have been a part of.
One of the things that you talk about a lot in those moments is try and take that step back and soak it all in, look at the atmosphere around you, whether you're the road team or the home team. Did you get that moment at all, and what went through your mind as you're thinking back on, hey, we just accomplished something special?
Man, it was kind of that same night, and then the next day during our championship celebration at the stadium. So we were in Barrie for Game 6. But our fans made it feel like a home game. We had over 200 of our Welland Jackfish fans drive up to Barrie for the game to come watch and support. They wanted to see us win it that night. So once we start passing around the trophy and we're lifting it up, and we see all these Jackfish fans still sitting there down the sideline, down the baseline, and we're hosting the trophy right in front of them, looking at them and seeing that support. That was kind of that moment of like, wow, like this means that much to the city. And then the next day, we're at the stadium for our championship celebration on Sunday, and 500 plus people show up for this celebration for our team. Was just another moment of like, wow, this means a lot to this city. They definitely got behind us over these last 4 years, and to win it for them was pretty spectacular.
What's that meant to you to be able to have that, I'll call it the small town feel, but certainly a lot of buy-in in the community to get behind a program like that?
It means so much, because then you know that you're coming to your home ballpark and people are going to come out and support. I think we averaged about 1,500 people a game this year for our home games, which is unheard of in our league for sure, to lead the league in attendance like that. But then it just goes to show like every fan just knows who you are and knows what the team is trying to do and trying to win. So when you're kind of recognized like that, and you get to feel like a little tiny local celebrity when they know that you're Jackfish players, it's definitely a nice little perk to this job that I get to have. And it kind of gave it that feel, that similar feel that I had in Monticello when I played college ball. And it was a small town, and everyone in that town gets behind school athletics. So it was kind of similar to that, just maybe amplified a little more, and that's what made the championship just feel that much more special.
This is your second year, if memory serves me right, with Welland, and this was a pretty good year for you. The numbers-wise, 1-2, 6.87 ERA, 15 appearances, but you really stepped up in the playoffs. No runs allowed in 3 appearances, 7 strikeouts in those 3 innings of work. How impressed were you with your performance over the course of this season?
I was definitely impressed myself as soon as the second half of the season started. I was struggling at the beginning as a starter, and that's where you see that ballooned ERA. I was struggling as a starter, and then our manager, Brian Esri, came up to me before one of the games, and he goes, hey, I'm going to move you back to the bullpen. I think you're going to serve a little bit better of a spot there. It's not to bury you and to put you in throwaway games. Like, I still see you pitching in these tight games in the regular season, finishing off games in the 9th inning that are non-safe situation where it's still maybe a 4 or 5 run lead, and you get to go in and kind of slam the door there, or even set up our closer in tight games in the 7th or 8th inning. So he said, don't take it as a demotion, and that's definitely what I did. Was I didn't take it as a demotion, and just said I'm going to serve the team better somewhere else. And it paid off. I mean, I found my role.
Was it a challenge though at all, trying to make that transition, or are you one of those guys who goes, you know what, I'm gonna make it happen because I'm a team guy first?
Yeah, I definitely believe that I'm a team guy first, and so I was like, okay, great, I'm going to do it to slide into this role as effortlessly and as seamlessly as possible. That day to day about what you do as a starter in preparation for your next start versus now I've got to be ready to go in and have my arm ready for 3-4 games a week at a time rather than just one. So that was the only little transition I had to make. But once I made it, it was just effortless once it started moving to the bullpen, and I couldn't have asked for a better second half and playoffs of the season with the pitching that I was able to do.
Mm-hmm. You look at the numbers, and as the season progresses, it certainly got a lot better when it comes to opponent batting average and that kind of thing. So what does that set the stage for you heading into next year and beyond? What's sort of your expectations or hopes heading into 2024?
Well, 2024, first and foremost, I mean, the team has expressed their interest that they obviously want me to come back. And I've told them that I absolutely will be 100% be ready to come back here in May. So I'd love to, I think the plan right now is to keep training my butt off at AHP this off season, and then I can go back in May here to Welland and start out in the bullpen. I think that's where the role is going to be set for me, and that I'm going to tell them, like, hey, I think this worked, so let's keep it going. And then from there, just continue to pitch well. If another organization like a Frontier League spot it looks at and says they'd like to give me a shot, I'll definitely listen to it. But my focus right now is just coming back to Welland and doing what I can for this team in the city.
You mentioned AHP. You're heading back home in the not too distant future here, and you're going to be coaching with the program there. What's Taylor and company meant to you to be able to keep doing what you're doing?
Man, they gave me a new lease on my baseball career. Absolutely. Once I came home from the States, and I said I wanted to play one more year, which ended up not happening at Edmonton Collegiate because of 2021 still being canceled out west, but. From there, they put that faith in me, like, hey, you're good, and you've got the stuff to kind of go pro and continue to do baseball after college. So you should continue to train, and just listening to them and bouncing ideas off of them and forming a good friendship with all those guys there, Taylor, Connor, Ethan. It's meant so much to me. And I was really excited when we had started talking about me coming back to be a coach. Just in a roving spot for right now, but I'm more than excited to work with all these programs that they have to offer with their athletes, and then I get to still be hanging around and training, and I get to be coworkers with those three. Is going to be a pretty awesome moment.
How cool is it to be able to give back to the community as well? You're getting to see these young kids going through their first steps towards whether it's a high school program or a college program, whatever the case may be, and maybe follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight that I cherish as a coach. I mean, it was awesome for me to be a coach at Edmonton Collegiate the 1 year, and I got to kind of impart my wisdom for pitching onto some of these young, raw, talented players. And I'm excited to do it at the high school level because, like you said, get to kind of help guide them with the other HP coaches to see their dreams become a reality. And it's just about giving back, wanting to continue to grow the game of baseball in Alberta and the Edmonton area for sure, and showing that we got a lot of talent up here, and we have the coaches that are able to mold them and get them ready for that spotlight in the U.S.
Not just that, you also get the opportunity to, whether it's back here at home or even in Welland, I'm sure you probably signed your fair share of baseballs for kids, that kind of thing. What's that meant to you to be able to have that kind of impact on a young person's career, life, or just in the moment?
It's definitely something that I don't take for granted. I think it was something that I definitely didn't quite understand when I played for the Edmonton Projects and we were signing stuff for those kids. It was a cool moment, but you kind of go, they know me because I'm a hometown kid, and so that's nice, but they really don't know kind of what's going on with the rest of everyone's career. But then to come out here and see all these fans that they know me by name, whether I've met them once or met them none before, and they know me by name, and they're just excited to see the success that myself and the team has, and then to just have those autographs and how much it means to their kids when you sign it for them, and then they get a photo opportunity. It started to sink in a little more these past couple of years, knowing that it's a highlight for them to come to the ballpark and see this level of baseball and get to interact with us after every game.
One of the things that I'm always fascinated by is the ability of time travel and being able to meet yourself in a past life. Like, let's say, for example, you were able to go back and meet 13-year-old Scott. Would 13-year-old Scott believe the trials, tribulations, the successes, the failures, everything that's led up to the point that you're at now?
Oh, man, he definitely would not believe about all the success. He might have an idea. I mean, the 13-year-old Scott had some big dreams about baseball, but the trials and tribulations, like you said, the struggles that can happen, he was definitely never anticipated for. So, I'd love to go back and talk to him and just tell him, hey, some bad stuff's going to happen to you in your career. You're going to go through a lot of struggles early in your college career, even in high school. But just keep moving forward. Don't panic about anything. Everything all works out in its own sense, and that's definitely some wisdom that my parents imparted onto me. My dad's always said, hey, that opportunity may have come and you weren't able to get at that moment, but baseball's always got a funny way of working itself out, and you're going to end up where you need to be and that you're supposed to be in time. So just never panic, never get too down on yourself, and just keep moving forward, keep working at it.
And it certainly worked out well for you, as you can now say you're an IBL champion. Congratulations, Scott. One final question for you. It's one we ask everyone, and I'm curious how your answers changed since last time we chatted with you. What does the game of baseball mean to you?
Oh, man, I think the last time I said it means everything, and that's still kind of what it is. This is my life, and I would never trade it for anything in the world. And then to add on IBL champion on top of that, just doubles down on that statement. It means everything to me. I would never give this up, and I hope to do it again time.
Absolutely. Well, really appreciate the catch up. Really appreciate the opportunity to chat again. Congratulations on the championship. Congrats on all the success, continued success going forward. And thanks so much again for joining us here on the podcast.
Thank you again for having me. This is always a blast to come on.
Big thanks to Nathan Flewelling, Simon Baker, Zach Worden, and Scott Gillespie for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. Again, I highly recommend heading to albertadugoutstories.com to check out all of Zach's great work from the Canadian Future Showcase. We also want to take a moment right now to thank Bob Elliott, Kevin Glue, Trevor Fitzpatrick, and everyone over at Canadian Baseball Network for also helping us out with coverage from the showcase. Hopefully Ian and I will be able to make the trek out there next fall. As always, a tip of the cap to our Platinum supporters for their continued sponsorships. The Okotoks Dogs and AHP Academy have been very generous in helping us tell the game stories in our province. For more on our partners and to learn more about sponsoring us in the future, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.